How is everybody?
Good.
Good. Miss Outlaw just almost stopped at your house last night. Had my family. We were going to the farm with the Argo, going to do a little sledding. Think you'd have been up for that?
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, it is definitely good to see you guys. It's snow day with more snow on the way. I don't know if you guys still like snow. It seems like we don't even get a snow day, doesn't it? We don't really get to because we're so used to having class when we're not at school. So, what I'm going to do today is I'm going to try to get you in and get you out. This is what the plan is. Today is going to be all about reviewing slope and more slope intercept form. So, hopefully, we'll be able to test on this next Thursday. Looks like the weather is going to allow us to come to school unless something happens. So, probably review on Wednesday, test on Thursday. But today and tomorrow is going to be all about getting you there, making sure that you're on the green in the Thumbs Up Club. And so, if you have any questions at the end of class, hang around and I'll answer any that you need to see. Okay. So, let me get you guys headed on the bell ringer, and I'm going to clean up our attendance, and I'll be right back with you. Okay. So, okay. Can everybody see the two problems in front of you now?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me clean up this attendance, you guys. What I'm asking for, you've got two graphs in front of you, two special lines that we've talked about. You guys have seen these for a couple of weeks now. Tell me the slope. Okay. I want to know the slope given a graph. And like I said, I'll give you about 2 minutes. I'll be right back with you. Okay. Okay. How's it coming? Remember, these are two special lines, and you may be able to just look at the line and tell what the slope is. But let's say that you've forgotten that. What two things do we have to have before we can find the slope given a graph?
2 points.
2 points.
Right. Now, what I'd really like is if you guys already recognize that these two lines are special and you know the slope already. What type of line is this one on the left, number 5? Starts with a V.
Vertical.
Yes, it's a vertical line. Do you guys remember what the slope of all vertical lines?
0.
Undefined.
Okay, I've got somebody that says undefined. I've got somebody that says 0. Which side are you on? It's one of the two. Is it?
Undefined.
Okay, I've got a couple of undefineds. I got a couple of zeros. Well, if you forget, the great thing about giving a graph is if you find a couple of points, you can do rise over run, right? So let's check it out. Again, I'm looking for points where the blue line crosses on a grid line or kind of a crosshair. So there's one right there. And any of these would be fine. Okay. So the rise is easy, 1, 2. But what about the run? Does it go left or right to get to this point?
No.
No, it's just up, isn't it? So that means it's 0. Now, what does 0 in the denominator of any fraction tell you? What does this reduce to? Remember me telling you can never, ever, ever, never, 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 ever, never, never, ever, ever, never, never, ever, never, ever, never, ever do what? What can you never do with this?
Divide it?
Yeah, if you divide by 0, you get what on a calculator?
Error or something like that?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It says either error or division by 0 error, something like that. And so what this means is this slope is undefined. Okay. So think about it. As it starts at 0, it gets steeper, 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 positive steeper, and then it gets straight up and down, and then it starts into negative slope, right? Well, this straight up and down, this vertical, that's when the denominator is 0, and that is, ladies and gentlemen, undefined. So those of you that said 0, sorry, you're losers. It's undefined. No, you're not losers. I love you all. You know that. So, but you can never, ever, never, ever divide by 0. That's why it's undefined. Now, every vertical line that you have is going to have an undefined slope. I don't care if it's here or if it's over here or if it's way out there in infinity somewhere. If it's vertical, it's undefined. And the reason is because you have 0 in the denominator. Okay, the run is 0. And you can never, ever divide by 0. Okay? What about number 6? What type of line is that?
Horizontal.
Right. It's a horizontal line. And I bet you there's going to be more of you remember this one. What is the slope of all horizontal lines?
0.
You're right. You're right. It's 0. Remember I used my arm and we were talking about a speedometer? How a speedometer starts on 0, and then as the car picks up speed, it gains. Well, that's kind of the way this is right here. This is a horizontal line. No matter where it is in the graph, all horizontal lines have 0 as its slope. Okay. Again, test next week. Let's say that, oh my gosh, I'm having a brain cramp. I forget that. Well, given a graph, you can do rise over run. Okay. So pick 2 points. That's a good looking one right there. And maybe that one. And the rise to get from here to here is 0, right? I've got problems here. There we go. And then the run, 2. And so 0 in the numerator is okay. If you plug that into your calculator, then you're going to just get 0. So again, it's a lot easier to remember. Slope of a horizontal line is 0. Slope of a vertical line is undefined. But if you forget, pick 2 points and go ahead and do your rise over run. Okay. All right. Review question number 2. All right. What you see before you is 2 sets of ordered pairs. And I want you guys to find the slope. Now, you guys have already tested over this, but still might not remember. What do we use? What tool do we pull out of our toolbox when we're given 2 ordered pairs and you have to find slope? You guys remember? M equals. You mean to tell me nobody remembers the definition of slope formula?
mx plus b.
Now, that's going to be something we use here in a second. That is slope-intercept form, certainly our friend. But this was a formula. Do you remember the formula to find slope given two ordered pairs? I bet it's
M
gonna,
equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1.
yes. And again, this is a formula that you just have to remember. It's not going to be on the yellow cards or anything. If we have K-Prep testing, you just got to remember it. And anytime they give you two ordered pairs, this is what you pull out. Now, again, if you think about it, all this is rise over run. It's rise over run in a different form because it's the difference in the y's. That's the rise. That's up and down. And then the x's, the difference in the x's is just the run. So do you remember what was the little help I gave you? What do you put over top of the ordered pairs? What do you put up here?
x1 and
Right. Right.
x1,
Yes.
like, and the y1 and stuff.
Yes. Now remember that the first coordinate is always the x and the second is always the y. And if you put that up there, you won't ever get confused because what does the 1 and the 2 represent? The 1 and the 2 represents what?
Just
Remember?
the order you put them in.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's the first ordered pair and then the second ordered pair. Okay? So you guys go ahead and I'm going to give you a few minutes to find the slope of both of these lines. I've already got this one set up for you. Once you find this one, go ahead and do number 10, okay? And I will be right back with you. Okay, did you guys come up with the answer? All right, let's put this first one together here. And then hopefully you guys have tried it. Again, you guys know the key to any math class is trying. Don't just sit there on the bed trying to keep your eyes open. Make sure that you've got paper and pencil and you're trying this, okay? So I've got 17 minus 7. That's just y2 minus y1. And then negative 15 minus, and use your parentheses here because that's minus whatever x1 is. Well, that's a negative. So what do we do with minus a negative?
Add.
Yeah, it's just plus a positive, right? That's good for us. I love it when I see minus a negative because, boom, I can make it plus plus. So 17 minus 7 is 10. And then signs are different here, so I subtract, keep the sign the larger. And so 10 divided by 1 is just 10. Okay? All right, let's do the second one together. So again, first thing I'm going to do, x, y, x, y. And then this is the first ordered pair, second ordered pair. And I do that every time. I mean, it takes a little extra to write. And, you know, if you just don't do it, don't be lazy on that. Just do it and it'll keep you straight, okay? So M, okay, kind of a jank M. Don't worry about that. So this is going to be Y2, which is 6 minus 15. That's the difference in my Y's. And then negative 11 minus, and then use your parentheses again here because that's negative 11 again. Oh, let's try that again. There we go. Again, what do we do with the minus negative? We have negative negative here. What do we do?
Add.
Yeah, make it plus plus. And so let's see what happens. So 6 and minus actually is negative 15. So let's subtract, keep the sign the larger. Okay. And then these are additive inverses. So that gives me 0. Okay, what's up with that? What's the slope of this line?
It's undefined.
Okay, why is it undefined?
Because like the
Because
denominator is 0.
Yeah, I love it when I can't understand because that means 4 or 5 of you chimed in. Yeah, the 2 or 3 that I heard, you're right. It's undefined because we cannot divide by 0. Zero's in the denominator. That's bad. Just anytime you see 0 in the denominator, think that's bad. It is undefined because we can never, ever, never divide by 0, right? So the slope is undefined. Now, just from that slope, tell me what type of line are we dealing with?
Vertical.
It's a vertical line. Can anybody tell me where this line crosses the x-axis?
At negative 9.
Good guess, but no. Look up here at the coordinates. What do you see in the x coordinates?
Negative 11.
Right, right. So if I was going to graph this point, I would go over to negative 11 and then up 15, but it's going to hit on negative 11 every time when it crosses the x-axis. So good guess on negative 9, but negative 11, that x coordinate tells you that that's where it crosses because you know all x coordinates are going to be the same. Okay. Hey, nice guess and nice work on both of these from those of you guys that chimed in. All right. So that's our review. So let's look a little bit at some of the things we did or started doing on Thursday. Okay. All right. I've got 2 lines here. And what I want to do, or what they're going to ask you to do, is they're always asking for the equation of a graph. Okay, so like you have a line, and they want you to come up with an equation for it. Okay, now somebody mentioned a while ago, we've got this thing that looks like this. Y equals mx plus b. Okay, somebody tell me what that is, or what do we call it?
Slope intercept form.
That's what it is. And so the name tells you what we can gain from it. Okay, slope intercept form. So This is actually a generic equation for any line that you can find the slope and the y-intercept for, okay? So in other words, if I want to find the equation of a graph, of a line, a straight line that they give me, I can use this, and I'm going to keep the y, and then I'm going to leave a blank, and then I'm going to keep the x, and then I'm going to leave another blank. Now, what I've got to find are these two pieces. The y and the x just represent any point that would be on the line, but the slope for every line is going to be different, and the slope, or excuse me, the y-intercept, okay, is going to go here. And so if I can just find the slope of this line, I can substitute that in right here, and then the y-intercept, I just substitute in right here, and then when I get that, I've got the equation of the line. Okay, this is a real handy tool for us because you can come up with the equation of any line as long as you can find the slope and the y-intercept. Okay, let's do the easy one first. What is the y-intercept? Where does this line cross the y-axis? At what point? Yeah, it's not a trick question. Just look and see where the blue line hits the y-axis.
0.
Yeah, it's at 0. So that means I just put plus 0. That's the B. The y-intercept is the B. Okay, so that's a point on the line. Now I've got to find the slope. How do I find slope of a graph?
Rise over run.
Yeah, I love it when 2 or 3 of you answer. Rise over run. So I got to have 2 points here. So let me just, that looks like a good one right there. And so I'm just going to go up 1, over 1. And there's lots of other points on there, but they would all equal 1 over 1 eventually. And so this is actually an equation for this line now. But typically you don't see it written this way. Let me show you what I mean. Do we typically see ones in front of variables?
Yeah, it's just X.
That's right. We typically see just X or a variable. And then we know there's an invisible 1 there. That coefficient is 1. All right. What about this plus 0? Do we normally see plus or minus 0 written? We typically don't see that, do we? And so we just leave it off. So this is a special line, and we call this a 45-degree angle line. See how it cuts this 90-degree? It splits all these boxes in half. That's a 45-degree angle line. And it's always y equals x. Okay? In other words, no matter how much you go up on y, it's the same amount on x. You go up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1. And the trick is this. The number, if there's nothing after x, you know this is slope-intercept form because y is by itself. If there's nothing after x, you know the y-intercept is 0. Now, this is just a trick you have to remember. If there's nothing after x, you know the y-intercept is 0. If there's nothing in front of x, you know that the slope is 1 because we typically don't write ones. Okay? So 45-degree angle line, y equals x is the equation in slope-intercept form. All right? Now, everybody try this one over here. Again, I want an equation for the line. So that means we're going to use slope-intercept form. Y equals blank and then x for the slope and then blank for the y-intercept. Okay? Everybody try to find the 2 missing pieces. Okay. What's the first piece they give us? What's the easy? The free space.
The Y.
Yeah. The y-intercept, right? What's the y-intercept?
1.
Right. It's that point right there. And so we just write plus, because it's positive, 1. Okay. Now we've got to find the slope, right? The number in front of x. So I've got to have another point. All right. That looks like a good one right there. And I'm just going to do rise over run. I'm going to rise 1, 2. And I'm going to run 1. But what direction is it?
Left. It's
So
negative.
that means that's right. It's negative. Okay. And so there's my equation for this line. Again, the slope intercept form is just a way for us to find the slope and the y-intercept. If you have to come up with an equation for a graph, this baby is going to be good for us, because all we have to do is find where the line crosses the y-axis, hit another point up, rise over run, put the number in front of x for the slope. Okay, questions on that? All right. Let's check out the last couple here. Let's go backwards with this. All right, everybody take a look at these. Okay, now, instead of me giving you a graph, I'm going to give you the equation, and you have to graph the line. Now, up to this point, you guys have had plug and chug, where you do the t-chart, you plug in your x's, you plug your x's into the formula, you chug to get your y, and then you graph the ordered pair. Okay? Well, that's fine, but that's kind of old-fashioned. It's kind of the old, slow way to do things. Now, it works. It's steady. It's a good standby. But, man, if we've got slope-intercept form, that's going to be quick. That's going to be a lot easier. So I know that this equation right here is in slope-intercept form because the y is by itself. Now, let's look over what two things can I get from slope-intercept form. Oh, come on now. What two things can I get from slope-intercept form?
2
The
things.
slope and the
The
y-intercept.
slope and the intercept.
Yes, yeah, it tells you what it is in the name, right? It's the slope and the y-intercept. So to graph this, I've got this free space right here. I know that 1 is a point on this whole line. It crosses the y-axis right there. Okay? And so just like in bingo, that's a free space. Now, to graph the line, I just need one more point. Well, I use this other piece of information. I use the slope. Now, the slope acts just like Google Maps. I mean, it's going to take me from the point where I am to another point on the line. I just have to follow the map, rise over run. So I'm going to rise 1, run 4, and there's another point on the line. After you get that, it's just a matter of drawing your line. And I know you guys are digging my straight line right there. All right. Think you guys can do that?
Yep.
All right, let's try it on 26. Now, look at 26. First of all, is it in slope-intercept form? Is the y by itself?
Yeah.
Yes. But what's the number in front of x?
1.
That's right. It's a 1. Now, it's not written, but it's there, right? What's the number after x? We just dealt with this equation. What's the number after x if there's nothing written?
0.
You got it. And so those are the two pieces that I need to graph. So the first thing I do is graph my free space. Well, 0 is where this crosses the y-axis. All right. And then to get to another point, like Google Maps, I use the slope. I go up 1 and over 1. And there it is. All right, look at that line. You wish your line was as straight as mine. All right. So that's going to be where we stand today. Tomorrow, look for everything like the last two problems we just did. It's going to be me giving you a graph, you coming up with an equation, me giving you an equation, you coming up with a graph. Okay. And we may do some quiz points from it. I'm not sure yet how we're going to do it. I've got the problems, but you guys just be ready. Now, if you still don't understand this, hang around for a minute. We'll talk about it some more. But if not, that's pretty much going to do it for the LOC today. Okay. I love you guys. Y'all be careful, and I will see you tomorrow.
Bye, Mr. Corbin.
Bye, baby girl.
Mr. Corbett.
All right, Ben. See you, buddy.
Bye, Mr. Corbin.
Bye, Rebecca. Jackson, are you hanging around or are you asleep? Hey, Jackson. Jackson. Hey, Jackson. Well, all right, buddy. Looks like you're asleep or off doing something. See you later.